Okay, so in this video, I'm going to be explaining self-trust internally though. So having self-trust internally, and by having this internally, uh, the universe projects how you feel internally, externally. That's what the universe does. So by you feeling internally trusted within yourself and confident within yourself, relaxed within yourself, all these things internally, the universe has no choice to reflect this externally, but I'm going to explain it to you in a way that makes sense, just a simple version. And yeah, so self trust. Got my book of notes to explain this to you in the best way I can. I've written it in my words. So self trust is essentially not relying on logic, but your intuition. So essentially, once you have visualized and you rehearse this visualization or this memory in your brain, through self trust and certainty of it and detaching from it, and now internally telling yourself that you already have this within yourself and accepting that, and then detaching from it, you're now attracting your desired reality. And because you have self trust and that self certainty within yourself internally, like I said, as within, as without, the universe projects this externally. Perception is projection. So how you view yourself, how you perceive yourself internally is how the universe will perceive you and reflect externally. So because you have self-trust and are confident and relaxed within yourself internally, the universe will effortlessly and in the same relaxation and in the same essentially confidence that you have and detachment that you have internally, the universe will attract your desired reality or your desires just as fast. And with desires, there's no time limit. Time doesn't exist apart from in this physical realm, the, the physical realm, the illusion realm, or just the physical, so Earth. So on the physical, time exists, but on all other nine realms, or eight, might be eight or nine, one of the two. But on all other eight or nine realms, time does not exist. So that means whatever you declare you are and you say I am and you say you have in every moment of your life, you have that. Once you signal need, lack, or desperation, you're now operating from not having it and seeking external. So that's why when people need or are in lack or are in desperation, they tend to not get what they want because they're attached to it. So there's a sense of need, and need with attachment essentially repels the attraction that they want at the time. It basically blocks the manifestation because it's a need. So because they're needing it and it's external, so they're needing something external and reaching out external. Because they're signaling to their subconscious that they don't have it and they're reaching externally for it. Because they don't have it and they're reaching externally for it, this will keep happening because everything you have in abundance. So everything you have will keep coming because you have that, which means in the same process, everything you don't have, if someone's saying they don't have that, it's the same process. They will keep not having that because they're declaring to themselves and their subconscious that they don't have that particular thing. So self-trust is the opposite of this, and having certainty and trust within yourself internally and declaring something the minute you want it or need it, that it is yours now internally, and then trusting that certainty within yourself and then detaching from it. And because you're detached from it and can visualize or rehearse a memory of, let's say, you being congratulated or you being desired or you in your desired form, you just now have to loop the memory to the point it becomes so vivid, and your intuition will make you go through the events leading up to that visualization. Your intuition will just lead you to it, because with every action you then do from that point onwards of declaring you internally have that. From every action onwards, you then have to ask before doing every action, what would that version of me do? So what would my desired version of me do? Let's say someone wants let's say someone wants love, for example. Once they declare they have love, then whatever it is they're then seeking or needing at that time, which might signal love, they then have to say to themselves that they declare and they have that internally. They claim that love internally and have love internally. And then from, let's say, the action onwards that they're doing, they then have to ask themselves before doing the action, what would the loved version of me do in this situation? Let's say, for example, it's about love in that context. So if the situation is specifically about love, and they are then um, signaling that they want love by declaring it internally that they have that already, and they're now operating from a version of them that is already loved, by identifying as the version of themselves that's already loved, they already are their desired reality without realizing. And because they're operating from this version of themselves, a new frequency causes new results. So you're the cause of the effect. Your frequency is the cause of the effect. So you can't have new results or you can't have new results with the same frequency. So you have to change frequency, which is just the awareness. So you have to internally shift, like I said, and not be emotionally dependent on seeing your reality change. So always operate as that version of you. And now you're that version of you. Do everything from that version of you and constantly remind yourself you're that version of you by always questioning and doing things and operating as that identified version of you. So by doing things, like I said, from the desired version of yourself, from the complete version of yourself, from the abundant version of yourself, from the version of yourself that's already completed that, from operating from that example, you're signaling self-trust within yourself. And you don't have to rely on logic, because logic contradicts intuition. Intuition is emotion. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. Logic, you're thinking logically, which means you're taking emotion out of the equation because you're logically thinking. So logically thinking, 1 plus 1 is 2. But emotionally thinking to someone in that particular time, 1 plus 1 might mean something else. Emotionally, not logically, emotionally. And this is what I'm saying. You have to trust the intuition side of yourself rather than the logical side of yourself, because the logical side is going to say, for example, that might not work. That's the logic side speaking. But when you have self-trust and self-certainty, and then detach from that certainty and trust, because you're now operating from that version of yourself and constantly doing things from that version of yourself, your desired reality, because you're attached and have so much certainty of it, it now attracts to you. And by you asking before every action, am I operating from this version of myself? Once you identify as that version of yourself and operate from that version of yourself, you now are already that version. So that version of you is now existing currently once you operate from that version. But again, it's only in existence when you operate from that version. So if you do just actions, and let's say you're not operating from that, then there's no change because you're still operating from the old version of yourself or the current version of yourself. By shifting to the new version of yourself, now all these actions are this new frequency, so they're going to have new results. And then also declaring to yourself that all paths lead to your desired reality, and you know this internally within yourself and claim it, again, with that same certainty and detachment. This also attracts, because that means if all paths lead to your desired reality, and you have certainty and trust and detachment of it, then no matter what you do, all the actions are then, whether you realize it or not, bringing you to your desired reality. But just being conscious and asking yourself before doing things, am I operating from that version of yourself, just makes it even more potent, so even more powerful, because you're actually consciously recognizing, am I operating from this version of myself? So that's why that makes it stronger. Self trust makes it stronger because you're actually operating from that version of yourself with awareness. And then because you're operating from that version of yourself with awareness, the intuition is leading you. And let's say you're praising yourself, you're congratulating yourself. The momentum of this in your desired reality, it therefore attracts your desired reality. So self-trust, self-certainty, and detachment are essentially the way for you to internally materialize your desired reality quicker, just by operating from that version of yourself. And this is self-trust, or the importance of self-trust internally, and how it reflects your external world.